Y'all, I'm gonna try to be cool, but it's probably not gonna happen because I have been waiting for this opportunity to sit down with one of my favorite artists, the remarkable and talented Ashlee Haze. Now, before I give it over to Ashlee, because once she starts talking, I'm gonna become absolutely irrelevant. Um, I want you to know that I've had the privilege of working with Ashlee, and it indeed is a privilege. She is light, she is energy, she is just the room changes when she enters it. So the fact that we get to share a little bit of her with you today is absolutely my privilege, and I'm so grateful for her giving that time. So now let me say hello to the incomparable Ashlee Haze. Hello, friend. How are you?
Hey, Becca. I hope I can live up to all of that, all of those things you said about me. Thank you for saying that.
I don't think I did you justice. Again, everybody should follow her on I'm going to put it below this video, but follow her everywhere. I told her when we were chatting before we started recording this, the words she curates and puts together, they are along with every great thinker of a generation. So my suggestion to you is we are giving you the gift of getting to know one of the great thinkers of our generation. So I think of Ashlee as a creator, but Ashlee, you have done so many things and so many spaces successfully. Can you tell us and share with everyone a little bit about your path of how you have come to create?
Yeah, so I've been creating since I was a little girl. There are pictures of me with a microphone. I think I was just, or pretending that something's a microphone. I was just kind of, I guess I just kind of fell into the passion of performance and speaking. I've been a talker since I was a kid, and I've been a reader since I was a kid. And so ultimately, that sort of evolved into a love of poetry. My mom got me into poetry, and I picked that up when I was about 10 years old. And I've literally been writing ever since. I meet people often who are like, I used to be a poet. I was a poet in school. Like the only difference is that I never stopped. I just kept doing it. And ultimately, I was able to make a living out of it, which has been recent history. So I started doing poetry competitions around high school, and then I did National Poetry Slam. And then after that, I started touring the college market. And that's what I've been doing now for 5 years, performing poetry. I get to produce stage work. And now I've been producing videos since COVID, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But all of it has been really a path that just started with writing, a love of words, a love of language, a love of creating art out of language. And now it is kind of a social responsibility for me, and something that I have just learned to completely lean into.
Oh, okay. Well, I know everybody has fallen in love with you already. Um, so let's think about that. Like we just talked about your path a little bit that got you here. What are you envisioning or what are your goals for the year to come?
Yeah, so I just started a production company called Philosophy Media Group. And so my goal is to produce a television pilot this year. And I want to create a short film out of a series of poems. So I've been touring my book Smoke virtually for almost a year now. It came out April of last year. And I've just sort of taken those poems and trying to figure out the different ways that they could live, like they live in the book. And then we recently put them on stage for a virtual performance. And so now I'm trying to see what those poems look like if they live on film or if, they live in scripted characters. So that's my goal for the year, is to fundraise and to get to a point where I can produce larger scale work, because that's where I feel like I'm headed. I want to produce longer stage pieces with original music, and just see all the different places that a poem can live.
Oh, that's so cool. And people can visit your website to both support these works and they can also, where's the best place for them to purchase your books?
Yeah, so the best place is ashleehaze.com. If you buy it there, in the shop, I will sign it and send it to you. I usually send it with a little haiku sticker. But you can also get it on Amazon if that's more accessible to you. I'm also on Kindle. So if you're an e-reader, you can get it there. I'm also on Audible, which has been really fun creating an audio book. So yeah, I narrated Smoke and it's there on Audible. So all of these are places you can get the book. And yes, you can absolutely support my new endeavors on my webpage. If you go to ashleehaze.com and click either Modern Philosophy or the support button, you'll see the work that I've been doing with my podcast, which is called Modern Philosophy, and my educational brand where we do workshops. And then you'll also see tangible ways you can support. I have a Patreon. You can support. I have a list of equipment that I need in order to be able to produce. So all of that is available there.
Well, I mean, it's never been more important, in my opinion, for us to put art into the world. And you make some real darn good stuff. So
Thank
I
you.
would normally use other words, but I try to keep it clean in case the children's are listening. Um,
Understandable.
now, Ashlee, is relatable and accessible as you are a little fancy, because one of the questions we asked you when we were interviewing you was, what was your favorite donut? And I like to think that I've seen some things, but my friend here, she likes a passion fruit curd or a lime basil donut. What where did you get your high-end donut tastes? And is it just you have a chef friend, or is this just,
No,
talk to me about your donut?
so one, I'm kind of a pastry snob. I am like bake show guru. I went to France to eat pastries. Like I love pastry. So there's a little local donut shop called Revolution Donuts, and they make these vegan donuts, and they put out these very sophisticated flavors. Like their sprinkle donut is raspberry sprinkle, and they have like this lime basil and orange pistachio and passion fruit curd, and that sourness in that passion fruit curd. I can also become like a bakery nerd. I'm like, the donut was it's fried perfectly, and the sharpness of the curd. So I'm really just into flavors, and I really am just into the, how can I say? I don't know. I just like frills. I like a lot, I'm kind of high on the hog.
Listen,
I have a little
you
cooking show called High on the Hog. So that's kind of where it comes from. It's an old Southern saying.
see, that's what I mean. You are a creator because you are working in so many spaces, cooking show, podcasting, film. You know, I mean, you have helped people. One of the things that was so amazing is you helped people work through their pain and are still doing so, pain and frustration through the pandemic by giving courses that they can schedule with you. And you created a fun name so people don't have to feel guilty about wanting to work out their stuff, calling it petty poetry, but giving
Yeah.
people space to write about how hard. It's okay if to acknowledge that other people may have suffered more, but that a lot of us are in a lot of pain or feel
Yeah.
isolated,
Yeah.
and you've created a space for that too. I don't know how you look like, why you don't have the bags under your eyes that I have. What aren't you doing? And I guess that leads me to my last question is, how have you changed your business, and how has your business evolved since the pandemic?
Very much. So, you asked a good question. What am I not doing? I'm not spending 3 hours in an airport. I'm not sitting through de-icing on the tarmac. I'm not, checking into a hotel and, unpacking my bags and trying to get ready before a show. I think that, as an artist, I recognize that so many artists suffered through the pandemic, not being on stage, but I have been successfully able to migrate my business to virtual. So now I get to, my stage is my home. This is my new set. This is, this is lights, camera, action for me. And it has really given me a chance to rest. Artist work, especially teaching artist work, can be demanding in energy and in time when you're traveling, when you're in these classes and you only get an hour to try to make people feel good about themselves, and you're trying to keep in contact with students after, it can just be, it can demand a lot of the energy. And so I was actually grateful for a year to work from home, for a year to be able to, you know, take out my laptop and still be able to teach. That's been a learning curve, just a journey within itself to figure out how to still connect with people when we can't be in the same space. But I feel like I've been able to do that. I've done probably 50 now, virtual Zooms, performances, workshops, since last August when we successfully migrated. And it really has just been a wonderful experience. I find that people are engaged. I get an opportunity to host poetry slams sometimes for colleges, and these students have the work, you know, they have all the words and things that they want to give language to. And so still being able to cultivate that space virtually has been a joy. It has not, I can't say it was difficult. I've, you know, make some technology investments. Those investments look differently, but like I said, I'm not paying Delta and Hilton this year. I'm, you know, paying Zoom and I'm paying for closed captioning. And, you know, when you don't have to leave your home, I can take my lunch break at home. I feel so like my quality of life is good right now, which I hope for all artists. I hope all artists at some point in your career get an opportunity to rest, that you get an opportunity to, you know, pay your rent and rest and focus and turn your attention inwards. You know, I think I kind of cultivated, you said something in our conversation about being flexible. And I feel like I was just really able to adapt. Like I said, okay, you know, I'm not going to do that 200-person theater performance this year. So what does that look like virtually? What does it look like if we invest in cameras instead of investing in, you know, state or whatever the case may be? So I've been blessed. It's a privilege for sure. And I even have a podcast where I teach people how to adapt. Last in season 3 of Modern Philosophy, we talk about going from touring to being an at-home artist and what that looks like. So it's been good so far. It's a long way to say it's been pretty good for me.
Well, and I think that sometimes is yes, of course you've been blessed, but your blessings come because you work really freaking hard and you're really talented. So it has nothing to do with luck. It has to do with knowing your value and putting it out there. And I love, and as I told you earlier, I'm wearing the shirt that says Cultivate Love today because you want to put more love in the world, which I absolutely adore. Do you have time for one more question? Because I didn't ask you in advance about this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you want to share the story that everybody loves about one of your most famous poems?
Yeah, I'll tell
Okay.
the story. So
Okay. People love it. And this audience might not have heard it. It's a good one.
yeah, so the story is about 5 years ago. I write this poem about the very first time that I saw Missy Elliott on television. If you have not heard of Missy Elliott, luckily there's YouTube. You can just type in her name. She's got like 12 hours worth of music videos you can watch. Best time of your life. So Missy Elliott, I write this poem about the first time I see her, but the poem is also about a time where women in hip hop, you could hear 4, 5, 6 women rappers on one song, and they're all friends with each other and they share the spotlight. I feel like, you know, in modern hip hop history, you're lucky if you can get Megan and Cardi on the same song, you know? So I was talking about a time in feminism where women shared the spotlight, and also where women in hip hop were actively talking about feminism and empowerment. You know, Missy's got a song where she says, "Ain't no shame, ladies, do your thing. Just make sure you ahead of the game." That empowers women to do whatever the hell they want. And so I write this poem and I performed the poem, and someone in the audience recorded it and put it on Twitter. And that person was D. Ray McKesson, who was at the front line of the Black Lives Matter movement at the time. So the poem got like 60,000 views on Twitter. And so I get a DM from Missy's Twitter account, and she's like, "I saw the poem. I absolutely loved it. Can I have your address so I can send you something?" So of course I think either I'm going to give my address to a stranger and be catfished, or I'm going to give my address to Missy Elliott. So take my chances. So the next day was a Saturday. And I said, well, you know, Missy's rich, so she can afford to send things on a Saturday. But what if she's got something else up her sleeve? So I just cleaned my house, because my mom taught me to clean the house on Saturdays. And so I'm sitting at home watching Jeopardy by now. I'm an elderly millennial. All I do these days is watch Jeopardy and go to Costco if I'm not teaching. And so I get a knock at the front door, and Missy Elliott is standing on my front porch. Becca, she has snuck her Corvette into my apartment complex. And I'm like, nobody sees this white Corvette that amongst Toyota Corollas, right? And so she's like, yes, I came to talk to you about the poem. So I let her in. And Missy sits in my house for about an hour. I kid you not. We just talk about our collective experiences. She actually was raised in the church. And so that's a story that I tell usually in my sets. And it's like, you know, I've had a music journalist. I know a music journalist, and he's like, all my years of writing, nobody ever said Missy Elliott came in their house. And I'm like, well, hopefully I could be one of the few people to say that. So that is a story about how Missy Elliott ended up in my living room. A poem did that. And that poem has changed my life in so many ways. Now I get to do poetry for a living and even get to do it from home. So it's been an awesome ride.
So I think the lesson here is, number one, everything I said about you is true. And number two, everyone needs to visit ashleehaze.com, and I will spell it out for you and put it below so you no confusion, because my spelling is not my gift. And you can support her work and share her work, because you never know who's paying attention, and we need to take care of each other, and we need art and creation now more than ever. Ashlee, thank you. You are, again, you are light, and you just bring such energy and life to every room, even if it's just hanging out watching Jeopardy. So thank you so much. And I look forward to sharing space with you again soon. And I am so proud and honored to introduce you to this audience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of See Her Soar. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Hydrate, moisturize, mind your business, and wash your hands.